Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning into another Supatease video, and big class changes are coming. We need to update the tier list so that we can start talking about which ones are going to be the strongest. Is it going to be one of your specializations, or is yours still going to be stuck at the bottom? And if you want to stay up to date with news and WoW-related content, educational and entertaining, then do make sure to hit the subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get started. This could be the final build of Season 1 to be pushing for our titles that are going to be gone forever in just a few weeks when Season 2 begins. So very important that you're picking the right specs here to go after those elite sets, go after those mounts. Affliction Warlock. Unfortunately for me, I think Affliction Warlock is still probably coming in the middle of the pack, probably a little bit below average. It's got really solid damage, but it's struggling to bring anything else to the table. It's just going to feel very average. If you're an exceptional Affliction Warlock, I think you'll be able to succeed with this in solo shuffle. But when you go into ranked 3v3, there's going to be a lot of things, I think, that just clobber you and make it really difficult to climb. So unless you're really talented at it, I would not recommend it at the moment. Arcane Mage. Again, this one, it's got possibilities. We saw it pop up a little bit in the tournament as well, but we'll really have to see how bad the nerfs are to Ret Paladin for me. I want to put it somewhere between A and B at the moment, but the fact that I'm literally not seeing any Arcane Mages anymore on ladder play, ignoring tournament altogether, it makes me think that Arcane is probably not in the greatest position right now, and especially with the prevalence of things like Beast Mastery Hunters, I think it's likely going to be tough to succeed with it. Again, if you're really good at it, I think you'll be able to, but if you're not, then it's probably going to come in at more of an average position, although I am edging it, a little bit, want to put it into the A tier. Arms Warrior. Arms Warrior, I think, is going to be an S tier specialization. I think that it's really powerful. It's not getting any nerfs, unlike a lot of the other classes that are getting nerfs. It just pairs up with a huge amount of classes in the game. It only has some situations which can be difficult to deal with, something maybe like hunters and mages. Those can be difficult classes to interact with, which kind of prevents it from being a god class tier. But I think that it will still be a solid S tier pick. Assassination Rogue. If these Ret Paladin nerfs go through and are enough to make us a Ret Paladins are a target again, I could see Assassination Rogue being really good. So for me, it's probably still coming in about the B tier, maybe pushing into the low A. It did just win the tournament even despite the Ret Paladin strength. So I think it's probably deserving of a little bit higher than this because you can play with Warlocks, you can play with Mages. I think with the Ret nerfs, and it already won a tournament, even with how powerful Rets were, that I think that it's probably going to be in a better position for sure coming on Tuesday. So an A position here for Assassination Rogue. Balanced Druid, this one might be coming in at a higher ranking that you're really expecting. I think that this is actually an A tier specialization, especially given the Ret nerfs. I've been having a lot of success with this, with Balanced Druid, Demon Hunter, Healer. And then on Solo Shuffle, I still was able to start climbing rating even despite how strong Rets were. So I'm imagining when they're dialed back a bit that Boomkin is going to be even in a better spot. So Boomkin actually felt really good to me. This is maybe a personal bias again. If you're not exceptional at it, you might not feel the same. Beast Mastery Hunter, this is going to be an S tier specialization. Even with the 3% damage nerf, I don't think you're going to even feel that or acknowledge it. Blood Death Knight, you're probably still bottom of the barrel. The rank 1 Blood Death Knight's like 1900. It's going to be a hard spec to get any sort of rating with. But if you want like a rank 1 title in Solo Shuffle, maybe there's not a lot of competition. Just kidding, there is. Mez is actually one of the Blood DK, so good luck with that. Brewmaster Monk, it's probably still the best tank spec, but I'm still kind of throwing it towards the bottom. It's been getting targeted with some nerfs, so it's probably not going to be the best spec to try and invest any time into. Demonology Warlock. Now, maybe I should have kept a God tier on here, but we saw Hunters competing with them, Warriors competing with them, and the nerfs coming into their single target damage on their pets could possibly bring them down a peg. So I think it's possible that they are now only S tier and not God tier, but it's really close. Like it's really close to me, like almost wanting to remake this list and put them up on God tier. We'll probably put them over here as the best of the S tier. For Destruction Warlock, we just saw it won a tournament. I think that it is actually still an S tier specialization. It's a really good spec to be picking up right now. It's going to be doing a lot of damage, have a lot of synergy with a lot of classes. Definitely a really high powered specialization. A little bit less control than Demonology, maybe a little bit less synergy, but even that could be debatable. Devastation Evoker, I really think this is like bottom of the barrel. I really like Devastation Evoker needs a complete overhaul when it comes to PvP. And honestly, in 10.1, like I don't know. I've been watching some people try and pick Devastation Evoker up in this patch without having previous existing MMR, and they're just all struggling and they're all miserable, and it seems really terrible. It's just a casino class, either one shot or you don't, and it's really tough to one shot when everything else is so tanky at the moment. It needs so much help in PvP to be more of a kind of competitive spec and not feel so terrible. To play in terms of just like one-shotting somebody or doing nothing. It needs the most work, honestly, and of any specialization in terms of tuning in my mind. Would not recommend it at the moment. Discipline Priest. I think that Discipline Priest could be an S tier specialization. It's getting mana buffs. It's getting massive healing buffs. Like Discipline Priest is getting a huge amount of attention. I think that it could be a really good spec. I think that could be one of the main reasons that Assassination Rogue potentially climbs up as well, due to the nature of the synergies between those two specs. So this is maybe a bit of a jump, but I feel pretty confident putting it up here with the changes coming for it. Elemental Shaman, I think it's probably like an A tier, maybe an S tier specialization, probably better than Boomkin. On average, you get Demonology, Warlock, Ellie Shaman. You're going to work with a lot of different classes in solo shuffle. I've seen a lot of people climbing really high rating with it, but I think it is susceptible and weak to like Hunters running you down, Cleaves running you down, which I think prevents it from being on the S tier for me right now, given what I'm expecting for this patch. Enhancement Shaman, it's pretty average. I've been starting to see some success with it, but it seems like there's none of it. Like I just got 2,600 and I'm in top 50 of Enhancement Shaman. Okay. Like top 50 of any other class is like 3,300 or something. So there's very few people playing this. It's very hipster. I'm going to try and do my best with it. I'm going to be getting a guide out pretty soon for Enhancement Shaman if you're interested in that, but you've got to be really talented at this specialization, know all of the ins and outs of it. If you're going to see some success with it, it's not a zug and just smash your head on the keyboard, do damage specialization to succeed. It's going to take a lot of tactical play. I was kind of feeling like I was Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z, and like everybody else is like Super Saiyan Goku, and like I got to like really think about what I'm doing if I'm going to be able to beat everybody being Super Saiyan Goku. So it's pretty average. Your healing is going to be a strength though, which I think does pull it up from being kind of bottom of the barrel. Feral Druid, I think it's probably pretty good to put it on A. Maybe it's possible it's S. I think a lot of people are considering whether or not like Kitty Cleave will replace Ret Warrior. We saw it in the tournament, but it was pretty close to not. But Disc Priest getting buffed, Hunter Disc Priest jungle. I could see that making it an S tier specialization, legitimately. So maybe we do put it up here onto S tier. Is it the same as Assassination? I feel like it's better than Assassination. I want to put it. It's somewhere close. It's a really tight race for me to put it anywhere here. Fire Mage, it's a tough ride on Fire Mage. Probably better than Devastation Evoker because you got some sustained damage for solo shuffle, but I feel like Fire Mage is going to be a bit of a struggle. And I don't think it's the best mage spec for Rogue Mage, which is probably your best comp going forward. So unfortunately, it's going to be really tough. I think at 10.0.7 as a Fire Mage. Frost Mage, I think you are really good. I want to put you on A tier. I feel like the Wizard Cleave compositions are going to be really strong in this patch, maybe even paired up with a Discipline Priest if their mana is good enough. We saw the Warlock Mage comp doing really well. But again, Hunters and things can deal with you, similar to Elemental Shaman, which I think holds you back from being S. Just having that kind of like counter is what's preventing you from going a little bit higher. Frost DK, would have really liked to have seen some changes coming in for Frost DK. It's probably middle of the pack. You do a tremendous amount of burst damage. Your obliterates are going to crit really big, but that's about it. Outside of your go window, you're kind of similar to a Devastation Evoker, except your damage is more guaranteed and more certain, which makes it more viable. And having Chains of Ice, Grip, and Stun and utility for your team is way better than the utility Evoker really offers, which is why you're going to be placed a little bit higher here. Fury Warrior, similar case here. You're doing decent damage, but you're like an Affliction Warlock. That's like almost all you're bringing. The MS effect is not as effective as it used to be with the way that it stacks up. You could definitely make it work if you're a diehard Fury Warrior fan, but I think you're going to feel pretty average when you're playing this specialization. Guardian Druid, it's getting some buffs. I honestly think that Guardian Druid, like maybe sleeper, but like RBGs and stuff, might be a lot better with the buffs that it's getting. Havoc Demon Hunter. Now, it's kind of like what class is going to be taking over for Ret Paladins. Right now, I want to say Demon Hunter is probably an A tier specialization, just really well average. It's going to be paired up with a lot of different classes. It's going to be really powerful, really strong overall, but you know, you can get cut down, bursted down, and stuns. Similar situation for that, but with the Ret Paladin nerfs is definitely in a lot better of a position. It's just really good overall. Holy Priest, you're getting some damage buffs. I don't really know if that's going to be enough for you. I think your mana is still in a kind of a rough spot. This priest getting a lot more attention. It's kind of a hipster spec similar to Enhancement Shaman, so I'm tempted to put it onto B tier at the moment, especially when we start talking about Holy Paladins who are getting pretty significant buffs to their instant healing on Word of Glory and Holy Shock. So I actually think Holy Paladin, it's possible that they climb to an A tier. A very low A tier, high B tier with those instant cast healing buffs. Marksmanship Hunter, unlike BM, you're very stationary. So for me, I think Marksmanship Hunter is a tier below Beast Mastery, but it's really cheese wins. Like if you're low rating, you're going to succeed a lot on the specialization because you'll absolutely just destroy people. Now, Fistweaver Monk was S tier. The Fistweaving build is getting nerfed, and I don't think the casted build is as S tier or God tier as the Fistweaving build. So my temptations here are maybe to say that Fistweaver could be A, but if we say Fistweaver is A, then we can't say Holy Paladin is A. I don't think. Probably still going to be B in a comparison. Is Disc Priest really going to take over Mistweaver? Is what I'm trying to debate now. This is the healers are really hard to call with this patch in particular. Outlaw Rogue, you're not going to feel really good on this spec. It's just it does pretty average damage compared to everything else, and I think Ret Paladins will still be prevalent. So Sanctuary, all those stun removals. It just needs a little bit of help in regards to that. It's just not slotting in with the rest of the game. Preservation Evoker, I think that this class is also going to be really strong. It's got a buff to its Living Flame, so it's already doing really good range damage. Main weakness is mana that's holding it back. So maybe we drag it down to A tier? The healers are really hard, honestly, with this patch. Prot Warrior, you're really not going to see it, I don't think. Prop Paladin's really tough to rank because you only fight other Prop Paladins, and I actually think that Prop Paladin's pretty good in threes if you run like Prop Paladin Warrior or something. So I'm actually saying Prop Paladin's probably a B tier spec overall if you wanted to play it and make it work, but please don't. Just don't. Resto Shaman, you're getting a little bit of a nerf, but I think you're probably still going to be an S tier healer. You're not mechanically getting gutted like Mistweaver on their Fistweaving build, and I think you're still going to have the best mana. You're probably going to be still the best healer on the S tier. Resto Druid, I think Resto Druid is probably B, somewhere in the middle here. Your mana is going to feel really bad. It's going to feel really bad in solo shuffle trying to keep up. Even like the best Resto Druids I've seen are struggling a bit when it comes to solo shuffle. Ranked threes, you're probably going to want to stick to like Wizard Cleaves, some type of like lock shaman, or maybe Mage Lock or something like that, some kind of double caster where you can drink more safely if you're going to see success with this. Now, Ret Paladin. Where's Ret Paladin going to go? This is like the spec that everybody is talking about. I might move some of these specs at the end of the video here, so just bear with me because my brain is like reconsidering what I've already thought through. For Ret Paladin, I don't think you're going to be God tier. You're probably somewhere between A and S. I think that you're going to be kited more by Wizards, and now that we've seen Wizards in the tournament, that other teams and players in the ladder will probably start picking out Wizard classes more, like Frost Mage and Destro Warlock, so it might be tough for you. Do I want to say it's an A or an S? It's probably safer to say that it's still probably an S for now and then adapt it later, but I don't think you're going to be God tier, right? The last time I made a tier list, I had another tier of God class. Shadow Priest, you're probably going to be in a better position, but it's still going to be tough. I want to say A, but it's... yeah, I think A is probably fair. Somewhere in with the Boomkin Ellie kind of situation here. Ret Paladin's still dispelling themselves of your dots is going to be pretty frustrating to deal with, and you can kind of get run down by a lot of these other powerful specializations. So probably an A tier is a safe spot for you. Subtlety Rogue. Where do I want to put Subtlety Rogue? We didn't see any of it in the tournament. Just trying to win in a burst window when everyone was so tanky is going to be really tough. And I've not seen a single one in solo shuffle, so it's probably more fair to say that. Am I really putting Subtlety Rogue on the same tier as Frosty K? Is that right? It might be right, but it doesn't feel right. We'll have to think about this a little bit because I feel like it is with Disc Priest buffs. Maybe like Rogue Mage is a bit better. Is it? We'll leave it here on B for now. Survival Hunter. You're not a BM hunter is the main problem. And you're squishier. You have to get into melee range. I think you're probably the worst hunter spec. So, like, if you're an A tier, you're low A tier for sure. Man, there's a lot of B tier. Am I really saying survival hunter is the same as enhanced? Because I feel like you're better than affliction. Maybe affliction needs to go down. Is what I'm thinking here. Unholy DK. Now, this one's getting a lot of significant buffs. Some people are thinking this is going to replace Ret Paladins. I feel safe for putting it on S tier. Like we might see Demonology, Unholy DK start picking up pace again in this patch for sure, because it is pretty significant, the damage buffs that it's getting. Vengeance Demon Hunter, not expecting to see this be too powerful at all. And for Windwalker as the final one, you're getting a little bit of damage on your Blackout Kick, not the biggest deal. With the Ret Paladin nerfs, maybe you're not going to get cracked against the head too much in this patch, but we didn't see any main Windwalkers in the tournament pick it up, despite people talking about comps they were practicing with it. So it's got to be better than Affliction, though. I don't feel like it's got to be somewhere around where Assassination is. I think I almost feel like I need another tier. That's why I'm thinking about maybe I should move everything down. Man, this tier list is actually so hard to make. There are a lot of competitive specs. There's some that definitely need some help. For sure, these guys need help. Paladin is the debatable one. I think Mistweaver and Priest, I might be overestimating where Priest is on the high end here, but it's getting, like, if you look at the numbers, it's like 25% healing on Renew. It's like insane mana regeneration. I think it's like 25% on absorbs on your power shield. It's really hard for me to not think that Disc is going to be really good. And if Mistweavers can't fist weave, they're okay, but it's just, I don't think you're adding anything that's over the top, which is why I kind of want to say Holy Paladin might be A tier. Really tough. This is really tough. The healers are really tough. Do I feel Survival Hunter and Sub Rogue too? Like, do they belong here? It's possible that Affliction should be here. I think that it's possible Affliction should be here. I just don't see any comp for you like standing out where I'm like, wow, this is an amazing comp to be an Affliction Warlock. Like, unless you're a diehard Affliction Warlock since vanilla and you're trying to make something work, like, I can't see you being better in any situation than Demo or Destro. So that separates it a bit, makes it make more sense. Maybe even Fury Warrior should go down to C. I feel like Fury Warrior is a little bit more competitive than that. This is like, you're really struggling, and this is like, just don't even bother. So okay, that looks a little better for me. Maybe the healers are a lot closer. The healers are the hardest to determine, and there's a lot of A tier specializations. So yeah, the other one is Sub Rogue. I don't feel like in good faith I can put Sub Rogue on the same tier as Frosty K. That just doesn't seem right. But I never see them. So it's probably the best of the B. Let's say that these two are the best of the B. Moving forward and then moving down the list, and then kind of similarly, this seems good to me where I'm expecting. I think Jungle is going to pop up a lot. DK comps with Unholy could pop up a lot, so I might be underestimating this, but that's my list here for the patch update. Hope that you enjoyed this discussion, got your ideas going here in terms of what comps or classes you could play. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will catch you in the next one.